गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन। हमारे आज के जो रिसोर्स पर्सन है प्रोफेसर कथन शुक्ला, मैं सबका उनका इंट्रोडक्शन देना चाहूंगी आप सबसे। प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर कथन शुक्ला सर, एट प्रेजेंट ही इज प्रोफेसर एट रवि जे मथाई सेंटर फॉर एजुकेशनल इनोवेशन एट इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मैनेजमेंट अहमदाबाद। जैसे कि आप सभी लोग जानते हैं, IIM इसका एक बहुत ही रेप्यूटेड इंस्टीट्यूट है और इस इंस्टीट्यूट में सर स्पेशली एजुकेशनल इनोवेशन इस फील्ड में एज अ प्रोफेसर वर्क कर रहे हैं। उनका जो PhD है वो उन्होंने PhD यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ वर्जीनिया से कंप्लीट किया है, USA से। उनका रिसर्च का मेन एरिया दैट इज गेमिफिकेशन, एंड टुडे सर इज गोइंग टू इंट्रोड्यूस हाउ वी कैन यूज गेमिफिकेशन इन अवर टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस for enhance the students involvement in the learning process, and how we can get more benefit with the help of the gamification technique. Sir, I welcome you on behalf of HRDC Gujarat University and IIT, both the institution, and I hope today all the participants will definitely going to learn so many things from your session. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. So should we begin or should we wait for a few more participants to join in?
No, we shall start, sir.
Okay. All right.
Ji.
It's just that sometimes I hear multiple voices, so I request everyone to please mute your microphone. And this is going to be an interactive session. So whenever you want to raise your point, whenever you want to discuss anything, point anything, so you can then unmute. Okay, so you can then moderate your own microphone. But as long as we all are listening, so let us keep our microphones mute, so that the quality of audio it's better for everyone. All right. So with that, today, so I have my background in educational psychology, and then I pursued PhD from University of Virginia. So that's the kind of research that I have been following. And recently, so for the past couple of years, we also offer a course on gamification and how gamification can be used for boosting up student engagement with learning. We offer this course here at IIM Ahmedabad. This is one of its kind in India and also across the world. There are hardly any universities that offer this kind of courses. So I'm very happy and sort of proud of conducting this kind of courses. It's an original course that we have developed. So today I'll be sharing some of the glimpses with all of you. And personally, I feel that it has a lot of scope for applying this techniques for boosting student engagement in the field of education. I request Mr. Tanvir Bhatt not to share anything. I will see your screen. Thank you. Yeah. So today I'll share some, because this has a lot of application in the field of education. So I'll now share my screen with you. Okay, so now I think you all should be able to see the screen. Right? You can see this. You can just nod your head so that I understand that you are able to see that. Okay, good. Okay, so broadly the idea is to how we can have better engagement of students. So that's the broader question. Especially in the current times when we are dealing with this online education. It's a bigger challenge. Even in real classrooms, it's always a challenge. But in online setting, that's always a additional challenge, because now, because of this lack of physical presence, it's even difficult to engage learners. See, MOOCs are there. Again, Mr. Tanvir, your screen has been shared. Yeah, please be aware of all this technical. I know it's new for all of us, but let us not experiment too much. Once your device has been set up, just leave it there, and then we all can, so that be mindful of each, because if you change anything, okay, then everybody else also gets disturbed. So let's be extra cautious with our devices. Coming back to our topic, so in today's times, given this online platform, engaging is already difficult. See, MOOCs, so massive open online courses, all these things are out there for decades now. However, there is limited confidence in the applicability of MOOCs and then how they can be used, mainly because one of the biggest challenges is engaging students. We all know that. So I'm not going to talk about that much today, but I'll directly jump into today's discussion, which is focusing on gamification. All right. So like every other thing that we do, so today I'm going to experiment with pedagogically also. So let's talk about a small sort of story. Now this story is about this student Rahul, who is a standard 9 student. So Rahul is average IQ, he's above average IQ student. So he's always in one of the top 5 rankers in the class. And then, in fact, in mathematics and science, he stands, in top 2 in his classroom. So in 8th standard, he was, one of the in top 5 in his 8th standard. But that was last year. This year, something has changed. So this year, for the first time in his entire sort of academic life, Rahul failed in social science and science in the first term exam. So that's something that happened. This is not in COVID situation. This is not the current situation. So don't confuse with the current situation. The scenario is actually from the last year. So this is during the regular school days. Okay. So we were in the school, so we kind of just talked to the teacher, and then the teacher told us this. Teacher said, I really wonder what's happening with Rahul. So he's not paying attention this year in the classroom, and then teacher has also caught him sleeping a few times. So Rahul was, dozing off in the classroom. So that was also quite unusual for the teacher to see. Again, I see some screen being shared. Mr. Sandeep, can you please share your screen sharing? All right, can we do something about this? Viral ma'am, can we do something about this? Mr. Sandeep is presenting the screen. Okay, yeah, thank you. But you can see still my screen, right? You all can see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, good. So I will proceed with the case. You can see the screen, right? Okay. So then Rahul's mother, now she once visited the school, so this is what she has to say. So Rahul's mother says, see, I am hearing some. Can you please, Mr. Devesh Patel, I can hear a lot of noise from your end. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay. So Rahul's mother says this, that Rahul leaves for the school when his father is still asleep, okay, because it's a morning school. And when father returns home, so Rahul is at the tuition, so they don't really get time to sit together and talk. So that is the one thing that mother says. And then mother also says that she has single-handedly taken the responsibility. All right, we need to do something about this. Mr. Sandeep, again you are presenting, you are sharing the screen.
Hello. I request all the participants, please do not share your screen in between.
Okay, thank you. All right. So, and then mother could not teach Rahul from standard 9 onwards. And that's why they got them tuitions. So that's what mother did. And then they also bought computer for Rahul, thinking that computers will help study further Most parents also think that, okay, students will learn more if they have some sort of devices at home. However, Rahul spends his entire afternoon in playing some sort of games, but then mother can't be strict. This is a 14-year-old. If mother gets strict, then Rahul kind of yells at her, at his mother. So that's the sort of problem that mother has. However, she can't even tell this to the father because father is kind of short-tempered. So she's afraid that if she complains to the father, and father will sell off the computer, maybe disconnect the internet services. So she's trying to avoid the confrontation between the son and the father. So, but mother is helpless. So that's why she says that next year it's going to be 10th standard, which is very critical. So, and then my son is really bright, so do something about it. That's what she's pleading. Okay. So, if this mother, let's say, comes to you, so what would you suggest? What would you suggest for Rahul? You all are educators. You can now unmute and then give your answer. If nobody volunteers, then I will pick up the names. Is that fine?
Yes.
All right. So let's say, Dr. Prasad Saha, what do you think? Dr. Saha? Dr. Anita Singh, what do you think? What's your response to, let's say, Rahul's mother? Or what would you do for Rahul? Anybody wants to share anything? Nobody? Arey, education mein aisa kaisa?
Sir, may I?
Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, Rahul's mother should talk with Rahul and also observe that what changes in his study pattern had come due to the when she left guidance of her and kept tuition and given computer. So his day-to-day activity and the study behavior should be observed by her, and she should talk with him that is there any difficulty or any change that Rahul doesn't like. So it can be counseled with them, Rahul.
Okay, but think about this in more depth. Yes, I see your point that the mother can probably counsel the child or maybe take some help, but mother is in a way helpless. Mother says anything, but this is a teenager. How many of you have teenager in and around house, right? It's very difficult to handle teenagers. उसको कुछ भी बोलो, the child will rebel. ठीक है, मम्मी तुम्हें कुछ पता नहीं है. You don't really understand. Okay, so it's difficult for the mother to say anything to Rahul. So Rahul is sort of, but then mother is also concerned because he is a bright student. But अभी वो पढ़ाई भी नहीं कर रहा, पूरा दिन वैसे घर पे कंप्यूटर खेल रहा है. So now what can you do? What can you suggest as an educator? आप as an educator क्या suggest करेंगे? as a teacher के लिए या फिर राहुल को या फिर mother को? What else can be done?
Sir, may I?
Yes.
Sir, first we need to talk with Rahul. As a teacher, I would like to talk with Rahul.
Okay.
I would like to know his interest, his aptitude, and then I will guide him.
Okay, good. So you are saying that talking directly to Rahul and then helping Rahul understand the importance of balancing between studies and playing games and all of this, that is important.
Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So once you give your comment, you can then unmute so that we can go to the other person. Yes, who else wants to say?
Sir, may I? It's
Yes.
Fatima.
Yes, Fatima.
In my opinion, he must be having some problem related with learning or psychological issues which he have met in his childhood. So it is better to have give him a counseling and other technique. It will be better for him.
Okay, so you are suggesting some sort of counseling again
Counseling
is
technique.
recommended.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So now, okay, so then it's an I'm again hearing my voice. Mr. Deshmukh, can you please mute your? Thank you. Similarly, Dr. Cable,
Yes, sir. Yes.
yeah, you wanted to say anything?
Yes, yes. In my opinion, in this scenario, हमें ये देखना है कि राहुल टीनेजर है और उसके पास कंप्यूटर नया आया है, उससे अट्रैक्ट हुआ है. We should try to give learning materials in a such way that he likes to learn. यानी हमें उसको कंप्यूटर जो मीडियम है वो उसको अट्रैक्टिव करना है, तो उस मीडियम से उसको हमें लर्निंग मटेरियल्स प्रोवाइड करना है.
Okay. Yeah, I take your point. Please mute. Oh, yeah, thank you. So because there was a lot of sound coming back to me. But yes, so these are interesting points that maybe we can talk with Rahul and then help him understand how to balance between playing games and then academics. Maybe we can also take help of some counselor. Maybe mother can also go approach some counselor. So things like that. These are important points. But since we were in the school, so we also thought that let's check further. So then we talked with Rahul's peers, okay, his friends. So this is what one of his best friends told us. So this is what best friend says. We play online games together. Rahul joined us very recently, okay, just recently. But he has picked up the skills really fast, really quickly. Sometimes he plays all night because he has to catch up with the game, okay, and he is great at it. Now he is our clan leader. So this is his friend telling us. Has anybody played a online multiplayer game? Anybody? Have you played online multiplayer game? Let's say, have you played Clash of Clans or Ages of Empire, any other game? Prakriti ma'am, James. Prakriti ma'am, did you raise your hand or you just have you played any games? Would you like to share your experience? Please unmute yourself.
Ludo, sir.
Online Ludo.
Yes.
Okay. And with multiple players.
Yes.
Okay, so then did you find that interesting?
It's quite interesting, sir.
Yeah, and then also fun, right? It can suck up the time, but then you also enjoy that process.
Yes.
Yeah. So see, thank you for sharing. So in Ludo, you're just throwing the dice, everything online, and then your player is moving. Of course, the pawn is moving, but then many others are also there, so you can maybe interact with your friends. That's also there. So Dr. Rainey Francis wants to share some her experience. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So I just played a game with my students 2-3 days back on Kahoot.
Okay.
Okay, and we were given a quiz, and each of us had to just go through the quiz. We also played an online bingo with our students, where
Okay.
the numbers were shared, and we were given a doll ka picture, and we had to color those numbers in case it came to you. And the first line, the second line, the third line, and the full house, the entire housey, all that was played through Kahoot was quiz, and bingo was through this form. So these were the two things that we had played.
Interesting. But then they all enjoyed that.
Yes, wonderful.
Teachers and
We were,
educators.
Yes, yes, sir. We were almost around 68 teacher educators who played that game together at the time.
Wonderful.
So
So they all must have been excitedly, participating and engaged.
yes, sir.
Right?
And after every question, the quiz, the answer were given, and overall finding, and your position was told. Like in Kahoot, they had told where exactly you are,
Right.
and in the end, the overall winner was also announced.
Interesting. So see, so these are important points. Thank you for sharing. So
Thank you, sir.
yeah, online games, or not just online games, any game, right? Pick up any game, and then games do something, that really captures the engagement level, and then engagement level suddenly shoots up the moment you are playing some game, experimenting with some games. So we have to understand that. And maybe being a teacher or being an educator, we can think that game is such a waste of time. ये क्या राहुल खेलते रहते हो, खेलने की जरूरत नहीं है, कंप्यूटर बंद कर दो, चलो पढ़ाई करने बैठो. This is what happens. Maybe mother, father, they end up doing it. Teachers in the school end up doing it. But we have to understand. Now we have to get into the mind of this 14-year-old. You are, let's say, you are 14-year-old. Okay. What is the center of your life? पूरी life का center क्या होता है आपका for an adolescence? Okay, I will not think.
Actually, in the teenage, the special attention to the peer groups attraction.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Ghosh sir. So आपकी life का center आपका peer group हो जाता है, your friends. Okay, that becomes really important. और if something gives you a platform जिसमें आप अपने सारे friends के साथ इकट्ठा मिलके, you go on an exploration. See, online games एक बार, okay, Ludo or Bingo, it's a very sort of superficial, very basic games. But if you try playing, let's say, Clash of Clans or Age of Empires, things like that, usme to you have to build up this big empires with your friends. You can have your, entire cities or entire empire. You can develop it. You have to gather all the resources. So farming bhi karna hota hai. You have to also set up your military bases. You have to also set up your navy. You have to set up your trade, your international relations with other kingdoms. You have to also collaborate, defend your entire clan. You have to also develop the civilization. You have to do some research and go into the advanced mode, advanced civilization mode. So you do a lot of things. So it's a fiction. You can role play. It's part of a story, mega epic story. So this is not just watching a Bahubali movie. This is actually living life of a Bahubali. And then your all the friends are also there. So being a Bahubali, you can collaborate with a Katappa. There is also another empire. So you can then have this alliance going in online world. And then there is some other empire of, let's say, Balal Dev, and then you can strategize and then fight against this another empire. All of this, right? So you are now a leader. You have to manage all the resources. You have to do a lot of strategic thinking, strategic planning. And then if there is an attack on your empire, so you have to work with your peers to defend that. And then sometimes you also counter-attack and then acquire more sort of resources for your entire team. ये सब करना, it's so fascinating, so engaging. एक बार just try it out. Talk to the children who are playing this sort of games. Just try out one sort of multiplayer online game of this level, which is epic in nature. बहुत ही solid storyline होती है, right? So compared to that, अभी आप वो बच्चे को बोलो कि नहीं 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 ये सब बंद कर दो, पढ़ाई करो, पढ़ाई करने बैठो. Think about it. अगर आप 14-year-old होते, अगर आपके पास भी डिवाइस होती, तो आप क्या फिर बच्चे क्या करते?
But sir, I have one question, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, question is, I have already write in the chat box the PUBG player with unknown battleground. Sir, it is sir one misuse is there, sir. You mentioned Bahubali 1, 2, but these teenage students and also the after teenager also college student, university student, they are involving such a huge time. They are all day long, all night. They are involving PUBG games. So
yeah, so PUBG is one sort of example, but then think about it. Why is it so engaging? So PUBG. So the point is, of course there are. See, if a student is so, it's in a way going into addiction. Okay, in game addiction, and then we know that they may not be healthy for child's psychological development. But
Yes, sir.
then
Yes, sir.
you have to understand as educators कि ऐसा क्यों होता है? Why is it this happening? Because उसको real life में in the name of school education, what sort of experiences are we providing? You have to think about it. उसको स्कूल में टीचर क्या करते हैं? Teacher enters into the classroom, asks that, okay, take out the notebook, page number 41, chapter number 3, start reading. फिर एक बंदा पढ़ता है, goes to the next child, then fourth child, fifth child, then 10th child, then teacher summarizes everything, then teachers goes to the exercise, the teachers also post the questions, एक दो जिसको आता है वो जवाब देता है, then teacher moves on to the next chapter. If this is happening in the classroom, compared to this, on the other hand, you are this Bahubali. You and your all the friends are online. You have developed this civilization. You have earned all the resources. Now you can think how to manage resources, how to develop civilization further. अभी उसको strategic alliance करके how you can expand your civilization. About the choice that the child has. एक तरफ से such dull classroom जिसमें कोई भी ऐसा engagement उसको हो उतना नहीं होता. On the other hand, this fantasy world where you can live your alternate life, जिसमें you can be the leader, clan leader. Okay, it's in a way becoming a raja, a king by yourself. So the freedom that online multiplayer games that give, it's unmatched. Or it also develops a lot of other skills sometimes. Leadership skills, resource management skills, strategic thinking, strategic planning, teamwork, team building, right? Alliance building, negotiations, trade skills, management skills, communication skills. So a lot of non-academic skills also develop through this online platform. So we have to understand this. From 14-year-old's mind, not mind of let's say 30, 40, 50-year-old educator जिन्होंने कभी game भी नहीं खेला, we should not judge from our reference frame. We should think from this 14-year-old's perspective. Okay, what is it that happening? And then उसको जब हम बोलेंगे कि अभी ये मत करो, ये करो, तो वो फिर because of the power difference, आप बड़े हो, आप let's say teacher हो, आप principal हो या आप parent हो, तो वो child फिर okay बंद भी कर देता है. Okay, child let's say stops doing that. But then child, it's suppression. Child convinced नहीं होगा. It's difficult to convince the child. Because child now knows that because now this person is using the authority, okay, so now I have to either hide, okay, either chori chori chuke khelo, okay, don't tell this to them, don't play publicly, either you lie, you go to your friend's house and then you play, you don't play in front of them, okay, either रात को फिर जग के when everybody is asleep, you play when everybody is asleep, right? That's what. So you start doing all of this. It's another rebellion, but silent rebellion. Confront mat karo. Don't confront, but wherever you get opportunity, you play by using your names, your things. But when this authority comes, when let's say teacher or parent or somebody who does not want you to play, so unke samne just pretend that you are not playing. But we all know that's not healthy. जिसमें the child is just lying in front of you, but still continuing to play because the child is not convinced. You see actually no value of that, but child still finds value. Child finds fun. Child को उसका पूरा entire peer group is there. Or just think about, just go and talk to these children in the schools, in the colleges. Entire class is playing these online games. If you do not play, then you are not part of the group. Think about it. Talk to the children between age, let's say 10 to 25, I would say. So unka word, unki thinking, we have to understand what they are experiencing. and then the alternate that we give, we have to enrich that alternate. So let's see कि वो alternate हम क्या देते हैं. So the alternate, so this is what we have to reflect upon. जैसे कि हमारा experience स्कूल में कैसा था या क्लासरूम में कैसा रहता है. You have to think about it. क्लासरूम में तो आज भी मैथमेटिक्स के साथ कैसे पढ़ाते हैं. Think about it. We talk about all sorts of, let's say, constructivism या inquiry based learning या experiential learning. ये सब fancy चीजों के बारे में बात करते हैं. But think about it. हम में से कितने ऐसे क्लासरूम में पढ़े हैं? Right? Our classrooms are also quite dull. The observation that whenever you just go into any of the school, it can be an IB school, an international school, or any sort of school. See what is happening in this classroom, and you will find that it will be highly teacher-centric instructions, focused on lecture methods. Of course, instead of verbal instructions, there could be some instructions on the PowerPoint, right? But again, it is heavily relying on the lecture method. That is what is being practiced, not just in some schools, but across Indian schools, across all schools, from, let's say, government schools through very elite English medium high fee schools. This is what the overall pattern is, right? So then students' engagement in the classroom or with engagement with learning, that becomes a big challenge. So typically, why this happens, let's go to this. Because there is this entire learning ecology जो हमने सबने मिलके बनाई हुई है, right? It is not one school's learning ecology. This is across the country. So when we observe, let's say our students are studying for some sort of, let's say, board exam. So think about it. वो actually क्या करते होते हैं? When you observe them, ध्यान से उनको आप बैठ के ऑब्जर्व करो तो वो क्या करते हैं. They have some learning material that they read it. अगर पूरा पढ़ा, फिर अगर they think that they have now learned it well, so वो close करके they will try to rewrite all the points. If they are able to reproduce all the points, then they will move on to the next topic. If they are not able to do it, they will again read the same points. So you're rereading, unless you memorize each and every point which is written in this model response, that is what they are doing in the name of studying. ये हमारे बच्चे this is the overall pattern that our students do. And it is not just case of one school. This happens across the country. किसी भी classroom में जाओ, किसी भी school में जाओ, जब when you observe students are studying, that is announce करो. Let's say आपका next week कोई test होगा, so let us spend this half an hour to study. So students क्या करेंगे? They'll first of all think about what can be the questions, or for those questions, what are the model responses. तो कुछ learning material निकालेंगे, either from the textbook or digest, or maybe some students may have prepared notes by themselves, or maybe most of the times teachers may have given them the notes. In fact, students like the teachers who give them the notes, because वो उनका काम थोड़ा आसान हो जाता है, because now they already have a model response in front of their eyes, right? So this is what they need. और फिर बच्चे, they will start remember, because for the success, criteria of success is what? आप CBSE का एग्जाम देखो या फिर let's say कोई भी स्टेट बोर्ड का एग्जाम देखो, बोर्ड एग्जाम. Idea to success is reproduction of some model response in timely manner. Textbook में जैसा text है, अगर ऐसा ही text point by point, if you can replicate without looking at the source, you are going to get really high score. That is what we test. And then the questions are mostly about knowledge and understanding level of cognition, right? So cognition level is also quite superficial. So this is what happens in the name of assessment. So key to success when it is about reproduction of model response in timely manner. So for no wonder students do that. Students practice वही चीज की करते हैं जो उनको measure होने वाला है. Students भी practice करते हैं reproduction of model response. यहाँ पे कुछ लिखा है, वो फिर source बंद करके फिर से लिखने की कोशिश करेंगे, because now they want let's say 90 out of 90 or 100 out of 100. So exact replica. अगर यहाँ टेक्स्ट में 8 पॉइंट्स है तो वो क्लोज करके और they also have to write all the 8 points. अगर 8 में से 7 पॉइंट लिखेंगे आधा मार्क कट हो जाएगा, 6 पॉइंट लिखेंगे 1 मार्क कट हो जाएगा, right? So they have to rewrite all 8 points. I'm not saying that this is completely false method, because you and I, we are also from the same system. Okay, ऐसा भी नहीं है हम we all are rote learners. But sometimes what happens, memorization is still important. Now you may have memorized with understanding. Most of us are from that. हमने मेमोराइज तो किया है बट हमने अंडरस्टैंडिंग के साथ किया है, लर्निंग के साथ किया है मेमोराइजेशन, तभी तो आपके इतने अच्छे नंबर आए, तभी तो आप लेट्स से फर्स्ट क्लास लेके आए, तभी तो आप आज एजुकेटर हो, राइट? अदरवाइज यू वुड नॉट हैव पास विदाउट मेमोराइजेशन, राइट? बट यू अंडरस्टूड द कॉन्सेप्ट्स एज वेल. But sometimes in the given system you can memorize without understanding, and that is called rote learning, right? तो ऐसा भी होता है कि person may have let's say 80%, 90%, but understanding नहीं है. The moment you ask them to explain, they are not able to explain because उन्होंने तो सिर्फ memorize किया है without understanding, right? So that is difficult. So that is the assessment linked to your students' learning method. अभी learning method fix हो गया है बच्चों का across India, and then teachers also teach this way. Teachers are focused about completing syllabus, okay, and then वो complete करने के लिए lecture method is the most efficient method, and then teacher also want कि बच्चे भी ये memorize करके reproduce करें response को, text जो भी लिखा है वही उनको यहाँ पे लिखना है in the exams. So teacher also encourage this behavior. तो कुछ भी बातें हम करते हैं, कितने भी ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम करते हैं, बट दिस इज व्हाट एंड्स अप हैपनिंग इन द क्लासरूम, बिकॉज ये पूरी इकोलॉजी है. अभी हमें लर्निंग इकोलॉजी सेट हो गई है अक्रॉस द कंट्री, ऑलराइट? एंड पेरेंट्स आर आल्सो पार्ट ऑफ इट. पेरेंट्स आल्सो वांट के इनफैक्ट दोस पेरेंट्स हु आर मोर एंगेज्ड, मोर इन्वॉल्वड विद चाइल्ड्स लर्निंग, वो ज्यादा मेमोराइजेशन पे फोकस करते हैं. आप भी देखिएगा in and around your circle, if you see parent is it's taking a lot of care about child's education, वो parent उसको धक्का मारेगा, नहीं अभी ये भी याद कर लो, ये भी याद कर लो, ये भी याद कर लो. Parents also encourage this sort of learning behavior in our context, and then that also gives entire rationale and justification for private tutoring, coaching centers. कितना भी आप लिखो अपने नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में भी कोचिंग नहीं होना चाहिए, नहीं होना, उससे कुछ नहीं होगा. Nothing will change. Why? Because this is the learning ecology in the current system. Okay, what is the role of coaching centers? They give you learning material. Textbook में तो there is this paragraph, the lengthy description and all of that. उसको coaching centers they convert everything into point by point, a very concise answers. So coaching centers also give you some strategies to optimize your score, to maximize your score, and then they give you a lot of drill practice. कि अभी आपको सब you will be able to just write everything. You don't even have to think in the exam because you have practiced a lot, right? So that's why it's an industry. Industry में क्या होता है, बहुत ही प्रैक्टिस कर you almost become mechanical. So that's what this coaching industry helps you do that. So अभी आपको सोचने की भी जरूरत नहीं, इतना प्रैक्टिस किया हुआ है आपने, you will be just able to क्वेश्चन दिखा नहीं कि उसका आंसर आपको पता है. So you just have to write everything down without even applying your brain. You will be able to do that with a lot of drill practice. So this is the learning ecology. और अगर इसमें वो राहुल सो जाता है क्लासरूम में तो हमें सरप्राइज नहीं होना चाहिए, बिकॉज ऑल्टरनेट उसने अपना ढूंढ लिया है टू एंगेज हिमसेल्फ, टू डेवलप हिज लीडरशिप स्किल्स, टू डेवलप स्पेंड टाइम विद हिज फ्रेंड्स, and the online platform, online games have opened up this entire new world to him, जो रियल वर्ल्ड उसको नहीं देता है, रियल स्कूल उसको नहीं दे रही, right? So these are very critical problems. हम लोग इस पे इग्नोर करते हैं. We think that हाँ बच्चे तो समझ जाएंगे. नहीं समझेंगे. आप कितना भी बोलो. Why will they give up online game? अगर एक PUBG बैन कर दोगे, doesn't matter. He'll find another game. She'll play another game. So it's just that thus you are not still solving the problem. The problem is really deep rooted. ये पूरी learning ecology set हुई है. So that is the biggest challenge for us educators. हम लोग अभी क्या कर सकते हैं about this? That is our biggest challenge. So then we have to think about that. Learn from the games. Games ऐसा तो क्या करते हैं? What are they doing? Why students are no? वो 8-8 घंटे एक साथ खेल लेते हैं. बट अगर आप let's say today अगर मैं 8 घंटे का क्लास लूँ, क्या हाल होगा हम सबका? Right? आप लोग let's say after let's say half an hour, maybe 1 hour 30 minutes or 2 hours at the most, आप मुझे झेलोगे. After that though, you will be exhausted. Even I will be exhausted. Right? But games, बच्चे 8 घंटा खेल लेते हैं. Some there are competitions, marathon competitions where children play for 24 hours. ऐसे भी competitions होती है. It's just that मुझे और आपको पता नहीं चलता कि ऐसे competitions कैसे हो जाती है. पर ऐसा बच्चे करते हैं within their groups. I remember many of my friends when we were in undergraduate. Saturday night को शुरू होगी online games. So my friends used to play a Call of Duty, which is an online game. जिसमें it's a kind of sort of online war game. Call of Duty चलती है, game शुरू होता है, सब players पूरी class, each and every student of the class begins Saturday night at 10 p.m. और पूरा Sunday फिर चलता है वो game non-stop. बाथरूम ब्रेक भी वहीं पे करते हैं, फिर खाना भी वहीं पे खा लेते हैं खेलते खेलते. And then the game goes for almost 24 hours. And this is not just for one particular group. You talk with your youngsters, talk with your college students. ये बहुत common है in today's times. Okay, तो ये सब चलता रहता है. We have to learn from the games. So what is it that why games are so engaging? That is what we have to understand. So for example, this is just one sort of snapshot of one game. There is a game called Empires and Allies. तो उसको जब आप deconstruct करो तो there are a lot of hooks. See, game में engagement करने के लिए काफी hooks लगाए रखते हैं. और when we understand how they engage, तो ये कोई mystery नहीं है. These are basic applications of educational psychology. Okay, जो हम और आप पढ़े हुए हैं, we have understood all of this. Operant conditioning, classical conditioning, broadly speaking, behaviorism, you all understand. You also understand, let's say, self-determination theory. You all understand social learning, Vygotsky का. ये सारी चीजें B.Ed में भी आती है, M.Ed में भी आती है. It's just that हम लोग क्लासरूम में इसमें से बहुत कम चीजें अप्लाई करते हैं. Game अप्लाई करते हैं. Okay. So what here on the screen, what you see? Points tally होता है. Okay. Clear cut measurement. Completely fair. हर एक प्लेयर को पता होता है कि उसका लेवल क्या है, करंट लेवल.
Sir, please share your screen.
I'm sharing my screen. You cannot see my screen?
No. I'm not able to
No,
see.
sir.
We cannot see your screen.
No, sir.
Only your
Okay, I'll share again.
We are not seeing the
Alright,
screen.
it's just that in between, if somebody shares, then probably मेरा switch out हो जाता है. So now I strongly request, please make sure nobody shares the screen in between. Okay, I'll again share my screen. Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
yes, we can see.
Right? You can see the screen. So I just wanted to also show you that earlier I was talking about this particular, for those of you who could not see. So this entire ecology, जिसमें student का learning method is linked with assessment practices and teachers practices. Everything is connected. Okay. I will also share this PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so you do not have to take down the notes, but this is going to be for your reference. All right, so you can also, so now moving on to this one game example. इसमें on the left hand side you see the points. तो हर एक player को पता होता है उसका current level in totally fair manner. Mr. Kaushik Das, can you please mute yourself because I am hearing a lot of background noise.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you, sir. Then you see resources. So in a way, currently, कितना आपके पास है, how much you have. You know, so every player has that understanding as well. Then there is some game progression, ke how much you have learned in this particular game. So that is presented. The level in which, again, it talks about how much where you are. So how much you have learned in this game. So your current level in the game. Then there is some social graph, so telling you that compared to your peers, how are you doing? You know, so in a way giving you some reference peer group, same frame of reference also. It sets up you for you. कि आपके peers कहाँ पे हैं and compared to them, where are you? And then who are your peers? So all of this. So it connects you with your all the peers. Then there is one avatar. At the center you see avatar. So in a way now you can role play, right? So you can have identity of your choice. So there is a sense of identification. Okay, that is me. And then there is some sort of quest. So a player can do some sort of exploration. Okay, इसमें खिलना क्या है? You have the autonomy. You can explore the entire world by yourself. So these are small things, but very important things. So those of you who has the educational psychology perspective, you will understand. Giving children, giving learners this sense of autonomy in which they can explore the content, the learning by themselves. This is really important. Giving them clear-cut feedback, okay, which is measurable. That is really important. Giving them levels, presenting them challenges suitable to their level. If you remember Vygotsky's work in social learning, it talks about zone of proximal development. So according to that, what is zone of proximal development? कि अगर child का, अगर learner का ability level ये है, so you as a teacher, as an educator, you should present content at just this level, marginally above the current level. अगर उसको यहाँ पे present किया आपने, तो वो तो ऊपर से जाएगा. अगर थर्ड स्टैंडर्ड बच्चे को आप ऐसा नहीं बता सकते कि क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स में ये होता है, अरे उसको तो क्या मालूम व्हाट इज क्वांटम एंड व्हाट इज मैकेनिक्स एंड एवरीथिंग. इट्स गोइंग वे अबव द हेड, राइट? सिमिलरली उसको इतना लो भी नहीं आप बता सकते बिकॉज दैट इज टू बोरिंग. फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर आप लोगों को मैं बताने चलूं कि लेट्स से क्वेश्चनिंग कैसे करना चाहिए, because you all are already teachers, तो आपको that would be waste of your time. Because you already could be teaching others how to have better questions, right? So that could be very sort of boring for you. But if something is just beyond the level of current understanding, okay, that is really engaging. Games do that. Games assess your current level and then they present challenges which are just above your current level. तो फिर आपको उसको मैच करने के लिए थोड़ा स्ट्रगल करना पड़ेगा. बट द मोमेंट यू रीच देयर, दे विल पुट यू इन द नेक्स्ट लेवल, राइट? ऐसा करते रहते हैं गेम्स. सो दे ग्रेजुअली दे पुश यू एट हायर लेवल्स. सो यू हैव टू आल्सो लर्न मोर स्किल्स. डायरेक्टली आपको लेवल 15 में नहीं गेम शुरू होती, बिकॉज उसको पता है यू आर नॉट प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर लेवल 15, बिकॉज दे असेस योर लेवल ऑफ करंट लेवल ऑफ एबिलिटीज. सो सिमिलरली in the classroom setting, these are some of the elements that we can use, right? So what are the different elements? One is some sort of points, badges, ranks, basically indicating the current level of the learner, right? उसको कुछ understanding आए कि where is the child, कितना broadly learning objectives क्या है, okay, let's say throughout the semester or throughout the year, or currently where has the child reached. उसके इंडिकेशन के लिए you can use points, badges, ranks, things like that. Then you have to present clear-cut goals. कि पूरे let's say semester में या पूरे week में या पूरे let's say year में what are the things that you expect the learner to learn. There has to be clarity about this. Games में कुछ भी unclear नहीं होता है. You pick up any game. अगर लूडो खेल रहे हैं तो उसमें ऐसा unclear नहीं है कि okay dice खेल के फिर करना क्या है. You understand. If you understand the rules of the game, similarly, you as an educator, you have to explain the rules of your game to the learner. Right? तो उसके लिए बहुत important है what are the learning goals that the learner has to achieve. In your case, let's say that B.Ed trainees or B.Ed educators or let's say M.Ed educators, what are the things that they have to learn for this month or for this semester or for this year? They should have understanding of that. And then where they have reached, also those things. And then presenting levels of challenges. You can convert everything into the challenge, right? Instead of giving calling some sort of exams of what? Clarify to them and then present it as a challenge so that they can work on it. Feedback mechanism is really important. ऐसा बहुत होता है. I have also observed. Micro lessons हो रहा है and there is nobody to give any feedback. और टीचर एजुकेटर जो है वो तो कहीं घूम रहे हैं बाहर. तो फीडबैक देने के लिए कोई है ही नहीं. तो how will the improvement come? Right? So without feedback, Mr. Rohit Barot, can you please mute yourself? I am hearing your voice. Mr. Rohit, Mr. Patik Barot. Okay, can somebody mute? Middleman.
ઓકે સર થઈ ગયું 501 નો ખાલી સીરીયલ મે ફોર્મ નંબર ખોટો
So this is total waste of our time.
501 है फॉर्म नंबर 10215 આ લખીને આપણે 10616 છે.
Okay, is there any organizer for this? Because this is wasting our time.
ના હું હમણાં જ આવ્યો સર હું વહેલો નથી આવ્યો. પતિ ગયો પતિ ગયો 10616 ઓકે એ તો લખેલો જ છે તમે મને કાલે આપી દીધો તો લાગુ કરશે એટલે પેલાનો લેટર નહીં કરે પેલા લેટર એટલે ના થાય કે
Okay, is there anybody from Gujarat University or IIT?
બસ આ લાસ્ટ હતી એ તો મેં કરાવી ઓકે હું ત્યાં ઓરિજિનલ શીટમાં સુધારાઈ દઉં છું અને સર આપેલું કાલની ફી અરે સર કઈ વાંધો નહીં એમાં ત્યાં આવી જશે.
Does this happen all the time? Because this is really, I find it very nonsensical.
કામ યસ અને છોકરી ખરેખર એમના અમારે જૂની તમારી BSc ની છોકરી હતી ને એટલે બધા બીજા સાહેબો ખુશ થઈ ગયા હતા કે પોઝિટિવલી બાકી જલ્દી યુનિવર્સિટી અથવા કોઈ પણ વ્યક્તિ આટલી ઝડપી રિસ્પોન્સ ના કરે એમ.
Okay, can you make me the admin for this meeting because I can't tolerate this. This is wasting everyone's time.
અને ફી જે ઓનલાઈન છે એટલે આજે ના ભરાય એટલે આપણે એમ કહીએ કાલ ભરજે. કાલની તારીખમાં જ એન્ટ્રી કરવી જોઈએ. થેન્ક યુ સર. પેલા માટે પણ આભાર. થેન્ક યુ સર. તો સર હું પેલા બેને નથી કહેતો હું ડાયરેક્ટ હવે મેટ્રિક્સમાં જ જોઉં છું. ઓકે અને બસ હું મેટ્રિક્સ તૈયાર કરી દઉં છું.
Oh no.
Hello? Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
He left.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay, but then who is the organizer? I really don't understand who is coordinating this meeting because this sort of nonsense cannot be tolerated. This is wasting everybody's time.
Yes, sir.
Right? And I'm not comfortable with wasting my time and everybody else's time. Everybody is super busy.
Yes.
All right, so I was talking about, see, if this thing happens again, I think we should switch off the meeting because, you know, I don't want to waste everybody's time and then also my time because I don't understand why these things are even tolerated. Okay, coming back to our presentation, you can still see the presentation, right, everyone? Okay, coming back to the presentation. So games also provide a lot of robust feedback, because see, the moment you do anything wrong, maybe your avatar dies, or maybe your avatar gets hurt, or so in the game of, let's say, Ludo, if you get, let's say, low sort of score on the dice, you are not able to move further, right? So you get feedback right away.
Sir, your voice is echoing.
Okay, so I expect everybody to mute themselves, because I can speak and then I can hear right now clearly. Is my voice clear now? Okay, many others are able to hear it.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay, Mr. Kaushik Das, thank you. Okay. All right, so feedback is really important. Okay, without that, it's very difficult to understand how we can grow. Okay. And next thing, which is some sort of competition. Okay, under clear and fair rules. So that helps, players to push one another. If you can have different teams, that will certainly help them. Okay. And then making the fear of failure irrelevant. Let them fail. Let the learner fail, but provide strong, effective feedback, and then give them another chance. See, games do this really well. Games, what do they do? Once you are not able to play, okay, game is over, but you can again play. You can play again. So then you do not have much fear of failure. You try it again, try it again. You get another opportunity to learn and go to the next level. That's what games do. In real world, we don't really do that. That's it.
Sir, we are not getting you properly. Your voice is echoing.
Mr. Das, you are not able to hear me clearly, but others are able to hear, because others are messaging me that it is completely fine. So I think there is some issue at your end about the connectivity, right? Because others are able to hear very clearly. Yes, see, others are able to hear. It's just that there is some connectivity issue at your end. Okay, coming back to the point. So this fear of failure, we have to address. If you keep your children, your students, keep the fear very high, they are not going to try. They are not going to try other things. And then that will work against learning, because learning way you need some trial and error as well, right? So for that, getting rid of the failure is important. So instead of having just, let's say, one terminal exam, you can set up, let's say, multiple smaller exams. That is one logic. Why let's say, bigger the national education policy also wants to go for formative assessment rather than one annual exam. One 3-hour exam is not that good. Compared to that, if you can break that down into several smaller exams, that is better. So now there will be much more effective learning, right? That's the bigger logic. And then you can also incorporate some storytelling, role playing, stimulation. So all of this to boost up the engagement. For example, even in today's session, we began with this case of Rahul. There is some sort of storytelling. If I just start talking about the content part, it may not be that engaging. But through this story, you can understand that why it is so important, and then what different game elements are. It's easy to understand. Okay, and then you can also incorporate some sort of team activities. All right. So if we have time, we can do that as well today. And then of course you can put in some time constraints. All games tend to do it. They set up some rules, very tight rules. Okay. So for example, let's say these are different, but now instead of calling marks or grades, you can call them scores. So even small things like that, just calling something differently, that also helps engage the learner. So if you have designed a syllabus, so you say that, okay, instead of session 1, session 2 up to session 15, you can say that this is going to be level 1, level 2, level 3, and then content is also becoming sort of difficult, right? So even your syllabus you can gamify, and instead of calling marks or grades, you call those things maybe points or scores, so that students can also feel that okay, they are part of this sort of some sort of academic game. And then there could be some sort of multiple teams for the group assignments. They've got different teams. That is, let's say one team you can name as per you want. But for example, in our the course that where I conduct this, so one team is called Nai Disha, another team is called Pranidhi, another team is called Satvik. So all these different teams are also competing for the points. In points meaning to completing assignment and producing assignments of high quality. So that sort of team rivalry, team building, teamwork can also engage learners really well. Right? So gamification has applications across fields. It's just that marketing wale to applying it in a big way. You see all the credit cards, reward points, loyalty programs, all of these are applications of gamification. Companies also use it, and then you see a lot of applications. So personal finance platforms also. So they are applying it. It's just that in education, this is not applied that well. So we have to start doing that. So now I present several steps in which gamification can be applied. So first step is to understand the player. Who is the learner? So we have to have understanding about the aspirations of the learner, different motivations, fears of the learner. So really, who are the students for whom we want to design this gamified learning experience? That clarity needs to be there. Second step is clarity of goals. What is it that we want them to learn in the short term and in the broad across the year or across the semester? This clarity is really important. I'll also take one example after that. But let's say if you are in a college of education, so let's say for your B.Ed students, what specific skill set you want them to learn or to master in this 1 month? Have complete clarity about that and clarify it to them. Talk to them that this is the skill set that you want them to master, right? That is really important. Third step then is applying mechanics. Now this is all these different elements of gamification. There has to be some rules of the game, some sort of points, badges system, some sort of recognition or leadership board you can have, some sort of challenges you present, okay? You also give them some autonomy. You also provide sense of belongingness, that they belong to you, they belong to your class, they are valued in your classroom, they are valued as part of the teams. These are the things that we can work on. And then you can also work on getting rid of the fear of failure. Okay? If you have not mastered it yet, it is fine. You still have one more day to work on it, to master that. So try it again. But this is where you have to reach, right? The goal is clear. Okay, so we will take, let's say, multiple exams, we will take multiple formative assessments, but you have to demonstrate that you have mastered this skill, you have mastered this knowledge. If you're not there yet, try it again, that's fine. But this is how you can learn to reach to that level. That is what we have to clarify. And finally, monitoring and measuring. See, if you just keep things in words up in the air, then learner will not know what is the current level. So you have to measure it and provide feedback. That is really critical. If you just tell your, let's say, B.Ed students that just master your self-chat induction, the person will not understand, or person will understand something but it could be something different. Okay, so you have to then measure it. What is the progress on the skill of setting induction? Then you have to measure it. You have to also provide feedback, and then help the person see that okay, earlier I was just probably at this level. Now I am at the let's say amateur level, and then gradually I am becoming proficient. Things like that. So this feedback and clarity is really critically important. And that's why monitoring and measuring becomes critical. And finally, evaluation. Then let's say at the end of the entire semester, where have we reached as a group. So this broader evaluation is critical. Okay. Now you understand different steps of gamification. All right. So let's, and then based on that, then we can develop this entire logic model, that how all the course objectives are connected with course activities, okay, and then course activities are related to the measurable outcomes, how everything is connected. That we can, that sort of logic model we can prepare. All right. So then I'll now talk about what is it that some smaller things that happen at IIM Ahmedabad, how we have sort of designed learning experiences a bit differently. So I'll share something about it. So first of all, going back to this, of course, we understand our players, we understand our students. So that's why I'm not going to talk about it, but clarity of goals. So at the end of the program, what is it that we want? So IIM Ahmedabad, it was started in 60s, because the country got independence, political independence in 47. But after that, to run the country, you need human resource, especially you need industrialization in your country, right? So your economy, to boost your economy, you need such organizations which can take the country forward. Economic progress is important. Abhi industrialization kaise hoga? You need leaders who can serve as leaders of these large organizations. वो चलाने के लिए you need managerial human resource. So IIMs began with this sort of mindset, that let us generate human resource that can take leadership position of these organizations, that can create the foundation of industrial economy in the country, or not just in the business, but across different management fields, including public systems, including education, including healthcare, including agriculture. In all these different fields, you need high level of managerial expertise. Okay, so that was the bigger sort of institutional purpose. Abhi ye purpose ke liye, what sort of human resource, what sort of skills and knowledge we should have. So then we kind of broadly think about that. Of course, our students by end of this 2-year sort of MBA program should have in-depth understanding of all sort of management fields. That's why it's called general management program. And then from multiple stakeholder perspective, in-depth understanding can't be just for, let's say, for the manager. Person also needs to understand client side, customer side, the employee side, the investor side, the policymaker side, even from the competitor side. From all these different perspectives, person needs to understand, right? So this in-depth understanding needs to be there. Okay. And hence we have a lot of case study methods in our institute. We practice a lot of case study because this is one of the biggest outcomes that we are interested in. Then we also we want our students to have strong analytic and synthesis skills, right? These are the skills really important because they have to do a lot of decision makings. As business leaders, as management leaders, what leaders need to do? They have to make a lot of decisions every day. So, and then that decisions need to be well thought out. It can't be just ऐसे दिल में किया ले लिया. No. It can't be intuitive because millions, maybe hundreds or thousands of people have invested on your firm. So you are responsible for your decisions. You are accountable for your decisions. So you have to think about everybody, every perspective, every stakeholder, right? So people will rely on you, on your decision-making skills. So your decisions need to be really well thought out, research-based, right? So that's why decision-making skill, that is very critical skill to have. And then strong leadership skills and communication skills. So these are broad things that we wanted. So that's why within 2 years, students will be going through this grinding in order to acquire all these skills broadly. So now let's see, broadly speaking, what is this learning ecology? So when we say that our students are studying, so our students are, let's say, either preparing their cases, rigorous case study examination, or engaging with multiple stakeholders. They could be reaching out to industries, they could be reaching out to customers, clients, okay, maybe policymakers, maybe mainly because they have to understand their perspectives. They also need to identify the problems and then pursue in-depth study by themselves. They need to do a lot of field work as well. and then they need to get into the habit of decision making. So in almost every class, we ask them about what decision will they take if they were the protagonist, right? Because they have to practice this a lot. So after 2 years, when they are in the organization, they are ready to be this management leader, ready for the role. So when after having the job, they can't say, oh, sorry, ये तो पता नहीं था. I'm not prepared to make the decision. No. You have to be ready to come up with a decision. And that is what they have to practice throughout these 2 years, right? So assessment also, because this is what we want them to spend their time on. तो हम लोग अभी 3 hour का एग्जाम तो सिर्फ नहीं रखते. Of course, you may also have 3 hour exam, but in addition to that, we have so many other things. We also ask them to write reflection papers, a lot of case study notes, a lot of presentations, where they have to demonstrate mastery of all the learnings which has happened in the classroom and off the classroom. They have to provide evidence for all the tasks that they do, all the sorts of problem solving that they do. And then we often take feedback from other stakeholders. Let's say if they have worked with some company, with some schools, so we ask the school, ask the teachers, ask the principals, ask the students, ask the parents about their experiences with our students and their work, right? So we do all of this, and this cumulatively forms the part of evaluation, course evaluation. So that's what we end up doing. And because of that, so teachers here at IIM, they don't have to just do the lecture method. That will not work, because here students now need to do this. So hence we have to do a lot of case studies, a lot of management games, simulation exercises, a lot of real life scenario situations where they have to make some decisions. They have to think through theories. They have to think through different stakeholders and answer. So there is a lot of debate in the classroom, a lot of discussions happening. And then there is also research component, very strong research component also happening, right? So this ecology is then, because the purpose is very different. So now you understand, right? Everything has to come together to drive certain student behavior. If we talk about things in isolation, if I start teaching case study method in isolation, things will not change. I also have to redesign my assessment system. I have to redesign my teaching methods. I have to redesign students' learning experience. अभी स्टूडेंट को मुझे बोलना पड़ेगा अभी 3 hour एग्जाम के लिए यहाँ का लिखा, without looking at that, if you try to reproduce text, that is not going to help you to get good score on this course. If you want to get good score, you have to write case notes. You have to study case from multiple perspectives. You will have to practice decision making. All of the things you will have to do, right? Because that will be part of your assessment. So finally, now it is for you. So we have some time, but then I strongly want you to think about this. When you go back, think about your students. What are the learning goals that you want to set for your students? What skills you want to have, and then how will you apply game mechanics? How will you set up different challenges, different badges, different levels of challenges? How will you make them get rid of fear of failure? How will you make them feel that they belong to your course, they belong to the cohort, they belong to the class? Okay, these are the challenges for us educators. And then also provide them some autonomy, that they think they are in charge of their learning. They take responsibility for their learning. And then how will you then monitor and measure the progress? And then broadly evaluating the learning, comprehensive evaluation of learning. This is what you need to do. So now that we have some time, okay, I want you to prepare this sort of logic model for your students, for the things that you teach in your institution. When you say, or when you want your students to be studying, what is it that you want them to do? Think about this. What is it that you want to spend their time on? Do you want them to do some sort of literature review, some sort of discussions, some sort of in-depth study of what? What are the behaviors that you want to engage them into. So write this down, and then for those behaviors, how will you assess those behaviors? Thinking about, let's say, there's a BA college setting, okay, because that's my assumption, most of you are from, let's say, education department, education colleges. So if it is about teacher educators and then teacher trainees, so what should be that? So should that learning be reading some theories, closing the book, rewriting all the points, only that? Or should you also want them to practice set induction? You also want them to practice classroom management? See, my personal observation is across India, okay, I have traveled quite a bit, but across India, BEd colleges, have spectacular failure in classroom management. Our students, they are not at all prepared for managing classrooms. So is there something that you want your students to understand? How to manage classrooms, how to deal with students, who are learning disabled, but also in the same classroom, students who are gifted. So how to make learning experiences enriching for all students in the classroom, right? So what are the things that you want your students to spend their time on? This is what you have to write down in this left quadrant. And then how will you assess? That has to be in your assessment practices. And in order to facilitate that, what is it that you want to do? Now, see, when I also did some courses on education here in India. So what teachers used to do? Teachers used to come with some notes, क्लास में आके फिर वो अपने नोट्स डिक्टेट करेंगे कि चलो अभी लिखो कि चलो एजुकेशनल साइकोलॉजी में ये होता है, ये होता है, and then at that class we'll write. That is not teaching. That is just wasting everybody's time. ऐसे लर्निंग नहीं होता, right? So BEd colleges में ऐसे जो नोट डिक्टेट करते हैं उसको टीचिंग बोलते हैं. That is the worst example being set for teaching. So definitely, if we want our students to acquire teaching skills, knowledge for teaching, we also have to change our teaching methods. हमें भी फिर discussions generate करने पड़ेंगे, हमें भी फिर cases that discuss करने पड़ेंगे. We also then need to demonstrate, let's say, how to conduct inquiry-based learning, how to develop reading skills. उसके demo lessons लेने पड़ेंगे. We have to do a lot of other things. That doesn't happen right now. So what is it that we want to change? Okay, so let us spend some time practicing this, noting this down. And once you note this down, it would be great if you can email me your responses. So I'll also write down my email address in the chat box. But then I encourage you to note down your points for all these 3 different sections, because this is very important. It is heart of educational ecology. Meanwhile, if there are any questions, concerns, we can discuss right now. Yes, Dr. Piyush Trivedi, please go ahead.
First of all, thank you, sir, for such a nice presentation. I'm also working on the same field. But my question is, in ancient times, there was no gamification of learning. Still, it was a very effective learning. It is considered as effective. So why this has become a need of the era? Means in present time, why it is students are not so much concentrated and so many issues are there. I agree that this is the thing we have to do, but what is the difference between the ancient times and present?
The term was not there. Gamification elements were always there. Okay, whenever you see very highly engaged students, there are some elements of gamification. There is some sort of sense of belongingness. There is some sort of sense of autonomy, some sort of getting rid of fear of failure. For example, I can right away tell you one episode where Drona and then all these Pandavas and Kauravas, what they were doing. Let's say there is some fish circulating on the top, and you have to see at the bottom and then hit the fish. That is a game where each player has to try out. The skill is archery. You have to practice archery. When also there's other episode when there is a bird sitting at a dali on a trunk, and then all the Drona is asking all the Pandavas and Kauravas that can you shoot the eye of that bird, and then somebody, so what is that? That is gamification. They are playing games, but then the skill is archery. Dron wanted everybody to master the skill of archery. And then he finds this one student, Arjun, who says that I only see the bird's eye. So that's about focus. So then Dron has an evidence that, okay, there is this one student who is now focused. So that was one of the observations, formative assessment, right? Done there. Evidence of learning outcome. So then Dron was more confident. Yes, this student is more likely because now there is some evidence of this archery skill, right? So the elements of gamifications were always there. It's just that we did not call it gamification, right? But then all the elements when we break down. So if I go back on the slides, right? If you focus on step 2, points, badges, rewards, recognition, challenges. When Drona publicly says that Arjun is my best student, what is that? That is public recognition, right? Some constraint, some sort of time and resource constraints that I want you to hit that bird and eye. So clear-cut rules, fair rules, equal opportunity to all these players, right? So all of this, right? So it's just that we did not call gamification, but then elements to any sort of highly engaged exercise. Even you may also have done it. For example, I have seen when I was in college, my professor did not call it, but then the simple quiz sort of competition, he called it Kaun Banega Crorepati, just to gamify that. Gamify, and then there were several rules. You can use your 3 lifelines, and then you can also call your friends, and we also call our friends. All of this funny, very interesting things. Bottom line is engaging your learner.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, happy to share.
One more question.
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Cable, yes.
Is it same process for mathematics and linguistic for gamification, or in these disciplines are as these disciplines are different, the rules and gamification process of that subject are different or the same?
See, broadly the mechanics is the same. It's just that what are the things that you want your students to learn. For example, for English, I can tell you the app of Duolingo. If you have the Android phone, you can see the app Duolingo. It does fantastic job at teaching English in gamified manner. Okay, there is a point board, there are different challenges. You can compare yourself with all the other competitors in Ahmedabad, in Gujarat, in India. Okay, there is a leadership board. So it's an app. But similarly for mathematics, even Khan Academy gamifies that. You see Khan Academy, or even to some extent Coursera, Paju is one example. These are basically gamified platforms where there is some challenge. If you crack the challenge, you get some points, some badges, some score. It opens up some other fun elements. You get some goodies. Khan Academy gives you some sort of badges. Earlier you were some sort of planet. Now you can be a supernova. Those sort of things. There is some gradual progression. So yeah, it can. So for example, my students here, they have designed gamified experiences to teach cultural sensitivity in children, to teach gender equity to school students, to teach sessions on career aspirations, career planning. So some students have developed the sessions for 8th standard kids on financial literacy, right? So you pick up any content, and then you can design gamified experiences. It's just about understanding the game dynamics. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
yes, Prashant sir, बोलिए.
Sir, actually, I would like to say that gamification actually supports the theory of self-regulation given by Zimmerman. Actually, Zimmerman has given the theory of self-regulation, in which the student regulates his own learning by practicing different what you call dimensions, that are goal selection, goal cognition, directional management, directional change, and after and at the last goal termination. So gamification is very much important and effective in learning, in developing learning strategies among students. This is my opinion, sir.
Certainly, see, gamification is actually, especially in education, it is application of, broadly speaking, educational psychology. Okay, all the concepts you learn in your B.Ed, in M.Ed, and especially if you are specializing in educational psychology. So yes, self-regulation theory, self-efficacy theory of Bandura, expectancy value theory of Eccles, self-determination theory, all these theories are in application mode in gamification. So this is, that is, it's good to point out. So there is nothing new. Theoretically, there is nothing new that we are learning. It's just that in application, we can package it as a game, and then it becomes really fun for students.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So game tools, see.
Sir, I have
there have been some comments. I'll come to you, ma'am, Sarmishta ma'am, in a minute. Just want to clarify. Game elements, once you understand, tools, you do not even need technology for this. Okay. We apply gamification in real world scenario. So I go to my class, I suddenly say that, hey, we want to understand, let's say, research skills or how you design methodology. There are 5 teams. Each team I give different topics, different studies, and then within 45 minutes, you have to design this study. And then I am the funding agency. I will give you 1 crore of funding line. Let's see which team does best. Boom. So for 3 hours, the entire class is super engaged. They are designing different methodologies, they're studying about different methodologies. So it just gives you this context of games. You do not need any technology for that. You just have to understand how to engage your learners using elements of games. Yes, sir, Mr. Ma'am. Please unmute yourself.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, sir. It's a very nice presentation. But, sir, my question is gamification applicable for all parts of a subject to kids? Actually, we know there are different subjects. Theoretical part is there, practical part is there. Yes, for according to me, for theoretical part, note is important. And for practical part, say some demonstration, quiz, experimentation, it is necessary. But for theoretical part, can we omit the current trends of giving notes or lecture methods? Yeah, we can add different methods like problem solving, demonstration, etc. So I am giving one example. If I want to teach Newton's law, then of course I have to state the Newton's law, and then I can apply this thing. Okay, these are this kind of games, you can use this one. But for all the questions, is it possible for in practical field to use gamification?
Yes, so the point is, see, gamification is, rethinking about the pedagogy from game perspective. So think from game designer perspective to your same lesson, same content, let's say Newton's law, you can teach saying that, okay, kids, today we will be, I have a puzzle that, let's say, if I put a glass, okay, simple glass, okay, I put a very sort of slippery sort of cardboard, okay, very shiny cardboard, and then put a coin, and if I hit that cardboard, why is this coin falling in the glass and not going away with the board? Okay, this is the mystery we want to solve. So let us understand.
Yes.
So what you have done, you have now tossed some question. That is a theory. That is the journey that they are going to have as students. They have to answer. So they are now hungry for answers. Then okay, ये सिक्का ये कार्डबोर्ड के साथ क्यों चला नहीं गया? तो वहीं रुक गया. So what is this inertia? Now I want to understand inertia, right? So what you are doing, you are using elements of game, okay, to repackage. Again, you see, this is not that you have to get rid of all the other methods. Experiments are important, projects are important, demonstrations are important, all of this. Gamification is giving you additional weaponry, additional tool to engage your students.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Already, actually, demonstration already we try to teach our trainees how you will perform different activities of science, different say inertia, how you will perform some experiment, so that students can able to understand what is inertia of rest, inertia of motion. Yeah. This kind of demonstration, but actually the technical term we have learned. Thank you for that. That this also belongs to gamification.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
It's just that you can convert that into a puzzle, into a game, right? So then children as a learner, they should experience that they are part of some game, and through this learning, they will be able to play their game, right?
Yes. Then they will be more motivated and more interested. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you.
certainly.
Thank you very much.